Hi there, everybody. This is Robert Hatton. This is The Encourager. It's good that you're here again today. I'm looking forward to sharing you something with you from the Gospel of Mark, from the story of Jesus. It's something that is very inspiring and very challenging. And today we've come to a place where maybe this is an intermediate examination. We are being tested. We are just summarizing what have we learned so far. And about 18 months has passed since Jesus was baptized until now, the middle of chapter 3. And as I told you at the beginning of our studies, that one of Mark's favorite words is immediately. And immediately they did this, and immediately Jesus did that, and immediately they went here or there. And it seems like Mark is in a hurry to tell us this story, and that this story is very fast-paced and it's breathtaking. Now today we've come to chapter 3, and I'd like to read you from verse 7 onwards. So Mark 3 verse 7. And Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the lake, and a large crowd from Galilee followed. And when they heard all that he was doing, many people came to him from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, and the regions across the Jordan and around Tyre and Sidon. Because of the crowd, he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him to keep the people from crowding him. For he had healed many, so that those with diseases were pushing forward to touch him. And whenever the evil spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." But he gave them strict orders not to tell who he was. And Jesus went up on a mountainside and called those he wanted, and they came to him. So we're looking at this story, the story of Jesus, through the eyes of the Apostle Peter. And I believe that it was Peter who was more or less dictating to Mark what he had to write down. So I said we've got like an intermediate examination today. So what has Peter learned so far? Perhaps we are on this journey together with Peter at the moment. So I'm going to ask us, what have we learned so far? Well, the first thing that he learned is that Jesus is bigger, Jesus is greater than the Pharisees. They found Jesus and his teaching to be very offensive. And after our reading and our study yesterday, we saw that the Pharisees, they have withdrew themselves to plot together with other people to find a way to get rid of Jesus. Now Jesus went down to the lake, and he was just showing really he didn't need the Pharisees. He wasn't dependent upon their influence. He didn't need the Pharisees, and he didn't need the synagogues, because as he moved to the Sea of Galilee, many people followed him. A huge crowd was following him. And Matthew tells us in chapter 23 and verse 15, it's about the Pharisees, and he says that they had to work very, very hard and travel very, very far just to win one person to their cause. Jesus was greater than the Pharisees. And the next thing he learned in verse 8 was that Jesus is greater than King Herod. Well, really, he wasn't a king. He was a tetrarch. And a tetrarch means he was a quarter king. He should have been king. His father was a king. His father was Herod the Great, who was alive when Jesus was born. And he should have been his successor. But shortly before Herod the Great died, he deceived his son. He split his kingdom up into 4 parts. And now the King Herod, he just got a quarter of it. He was a tetrarch. He was a quarter king. Now, when Jesus went to the Sea of Galilee, people came from Galilee, which was the area that this Herod was ruling over, but they also came from Judea and Jerusalem. They also came from Idumea and from the other side of the Jordan. That was the other 3/4 of the kingdom. But they also came from Tyre and Sidon, which was even far away. That's in Lebanon. So Jesus was greater than this king. He had influence, not just over a quarter of the kingdom, but over 5/4 of the kingdom, even beyond the kingdom, his influence reached. Now, verse 9, he also tells us that he was greater than the prophets. John the Baptist, he was the greatest of the Old Testament. And when John the Baptist preached, he gathered a huge crowd. Many people came to him. But when Jesus preached, many people came to him so that he didn't have any room even to stand on the bank of the sea. He had to get into a boat, otherwise he would have fallen into the sea. So many people were pressing in on him. He was greater than all the prophets. And then in verse 10, we're told that he is the Son of Man. We've already seen this at the beginning of chapter 2 when those four friends, lowered their friend, the paralyzed friend, to the feet of Jesus through the roof. And Jesus said to the crowd, actually, so that you know that the Son of Man has authority, has power to forgive sins on earth. I say to you, stand up, take your bed and walk. And this man is healed, although Jesus is healing his sins, so that you know that the Son of Man. And we saw that this is an allusion to the Son of Man who is mentioned in the book of Daniel, the Son of Man who will take over the power, take over the lordship of all the kingdoms of this world. And the reason why he wanted to get into the boat and be a little bit separated from the crowd is because so many people were coming with needs and sicknesses and disease, and they were jumping on him. They just wanted to touch him. They wanted to get some of his power so that they would be healed and that their needs would be met. In Luke chapter 6 and verse 19, we read there that all the multitudes came and were looking for him just to touch him, because power left him and he healed them all. Now, Simon Peter, he had worked all his life on a fisher boat, but he never ever worked with somebody like Jesus before. In verse 11, we find out that he is the Son of God. He's not just the Son of Man, but he's also the Son of God. That's what the demons are crying out. When demonized people came close to Jesus, they began to shout. No, I don't think it was the people, but it was the unclean spirits that were in them or around them. And they cried out and said, "You are the Son of God." He told them, of course, that they had to be quiet. Now, the Son of God, that was a title that the Roman emperor had, but he was in no comparison to Jesus. Verse 12, Jesus tells the demons they are to be quiet. That's verse 11. Verse 12, he tells also his friends not to say anything. He tells the people who've been healed not to speak too loudly about what has happened. He tells his friends that the revelation, the knowledge that they've received about Jesus, they should keep that to themselves at the moment, because it wasn't time for this to become public. And often Jesus retired and he went to some place that was lonely. He wanted to be in a solitary place away from all the crowds. Now, verse 13, Jesus asked 12 men to come into a closer relationship to him. He's asking them for a commitment to stay with him. I think it was just for another 18 months. Now, initially, Jesus would only be here on earth another 18 months. And it's for this time he invites them to come closer to him, although we know that this is going to be a lifetime experience. He wants them to know, and Peter is now realizing that this journey with Jesus is going farther. This story is much bigger than what he was expecting. And what Jesus was doing, he was asking these 12 men, and after he'd asked Simon, he never called him Simon again, he called him Peter. His name was changed. He was a changed person, this man, and he asked him to step into the story, which is so much bigger than what he could imagine. And not only did he ask Peter to come and step into the story, but he asks us today. He's asking you, Jürgen, to come and step into his story. He's asking you, Sandra, to come and step in his story. Sabina, Tom, and whatever your name is, he's asking us all to come and to join this story and to accompany him on his journey. And so in the name of Jesus, I can invite you to come and have a relationship, have an even deeper relationship than what you had to this Jesus. So that's it for today. God bless you. I hope you have a really good day with the Lord. This is Robert Hatton. This is The Encourager.